We've all been there. You meet someone and everything feels right. The chemistry, the connection, the potential. You want more. Maybe you're ready for something real, something deep, something secure. But then comes the sting. He's not ready. And suddenly you're left in a half relationship, stuck in the grey area between almost and never. And here's where the mistake happens. Instead of pulling back, we lean in. We start chasing. We try harder. We think if we can just love him better, prove we're worth it, be more patient, then maybe, just maybe, he'll choose us the way we're choosing him. But here's the truth no one tells you. Chasing a man who's not ready doesn't get you closer to what you want. It gets you further from yourself. If you want more from a man who's not ready, don't chase. Do this instead. First, accept this one uncomfortable truth. Desire is not the same as readiness. He may want you. He may even care about you. But wanting someone is not the same as being ready to love them right. And if you're ignoring the red flags because you're clinging to the connection, you're investing in a future that only exists in your head. Stop trying to manage his confusion with your clarity. Just because you know what you want doesn't mean you can drag someone there with you. Here's what you do instead. You stop giving him the benefits of a relationship without the responsibility of one. That means you don't keep showing up with all your energy, your time, your heart, hoping that one day he'll give you more than crumbs. You pull back. You create space. You let him experience what life is like without your constant emotional labor. Not to manipulate, not to punish, but to protect yourself. Because when someone says, I'm not ready, what they're really saying is, I can't give you what you deserve. And your job isn't to change their mind. It's to believe them the first time. Let go of the story that if you wait long enough, he'll catch up. That's a story we tell ourselves because it's less painful than walking away. But walking away isn't weak. It's the strongest move you can make when someone can't meet you where you stand. The right man won't need convincing. And the wrong one won't become right just because you stayed. Instead of trying to get more from a man who isn't ready, get more from your own life. Pour into yourself. Reconnect with your value. Set a new standard. When you shift your energy away from trying to earn love and instead embody what it means to be loved, everything changes. You'll find peace in the clarity. You'll find power in the silence. And here's the thing. When you stop chasing, you give him a chance to step up or step aside. And either outcome is a win. Because clarity is always better than confusion. Closure is always better than dragging something that never really began. The moment you stop begging for more is the moment you become more. More powerful, more grounded, more attractive to someone who's actually capable of loving you. So don't chase. Don't convince. Don't prove. Stand still in your worth. Because the man who's ready won't run from that. He'll rise to meet it. When you find yourself wanting more from someone who isn't ready, it can feel like emotional whiplash. One moment you're sharing a beautiful connection, the next you're hit with hesitancy, distance, or mixed signals. It's confusing, it's frustrating, and it can leave you questioning yourself. Am I asking for too much? Am I moving too fast? Should I just wait a little longer? But here's something important to understand. The issue is not that you want too much. The issue is that you're asking someone who isn't ready to give it. Desire and readiness are not the same thing. Just because someone likes you, enjoys spending time with you, or even says they care about you does not mean they are emotionally equipped to give you the love and commitment you deserve. And often we conflate these two things. We assume that desire will eventually lead to readiness, that if the connection is strong enough, the commitment will follow. But that's not always how it works. Emotional readiness is about where someone is in their life, mentally, emotionally, practically. And it doesn't matter how deeply they care if they haven't reached a place in their life where they're able and willing to show up consistently and build something real. You may be holding on to this person because of how good things feel when they're good. Maybe it's the way he looks at you. Maybe it's how safe or alive or wanted he makes you feel when he's present. Maybe it's the late night conversations or the little gestures that whisper the possibility of something more. But then he pulls away. He hesitates. He gives you just enough to keep you hoping, but never enough to fully build something secure. So you double down, you stay longer, you excuse the inconsistency because you think if he really didn't care, he wouldn't still be here. If I hang in there just a bit more, maybe he'll come around. This is where the trap lies, in believing that your love or your patience can transform someone else's readiness. That if you're just kind enough, supportive enough, low mental enough, then eventually he'll become the man you need him to be. But relationships don't work that way. Readiness isn't something you can give to someone. It's something they have to come into on their own. When a man isn't ready, it's not because you're lacking anything. It's not because you didn't do enough or because you asked for too much. It's simply because he's not in a place to give you the kind of relationship you want. And no amount of staying, waiting, or trying harder is going to change that. To separate your worth from his readiness, his inability to commit, to be clear, to show up fully, that's not a reflection of your value. That's a reflection of where he is. You're allowed to want more. You're allowed to need emotional consistency, depth, effort, and intention. You're allowed to walk away from someone who cannot meet you there, even if you care deeply for them. Sometimes the kindest, most loving thing you can do, both for yourself and for the other person, is to stop asking for more from someone who has already shown you their limit. Not to punish them, not to make a point, but to honor yourself, because continuing to ask, continuing to push, continuing to hope, it costs you your peace. It pulls you out of alignment with your own needs, and slowly it chips away at your sense of self-worth. You don't need to become smaller just to fit into someone else's comfort zone. You don't need to silence your needs just because someone else isn't ready to meet them. Love isn't about earning someone's commitment by proving how patient, understanding, or easygoing you can be. Love is about mutual effort, mutual timing, mutual desire. If you're ready and they're not, that's not your fault. It's just not a match. We sometimes romanticize the idea of potential, what someone could be if only they got their life together, if only they healed, if only they saw what was right in front of them. But relationships don't exist in potential. They exist in reality. And in reality, you need someone who is emotionally available now, not eventually. Someone who's not afraid to commit, who doesn't see your standards as pressure, but as a clear sign that you know what you want. Letting go of someone you care about because they're not ready is one of the hardest things to do. It's tempting to wait, to hold on just a little longer, to keep the hope alive that they'll change. But hope can become a prison when it keeps you stuck in something one-sided. And if you're the only one carrying the emotional weight of the relationship, that's not love. That's imbalance. You deserve someone who meets your emotional investment. Someone who doesn't just say they care, but shows it in the way they show up, in the way they prioritize you, in the way they don't leave you second guessing your place in their life. So if you find yourself wanting more from someone who isn't ready, don't internalize that as your failure. Don't chase them. Don't shrink yourself to fit into their indecision. Stand firm in what you know you need. Not because you're trying to pressure anyone, but because you've done the work to recognize your value. And that value doesn't need to be proven to someone who isn't even in a place to see it. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away from someone who isn't bad, but simply isn't ready. And in doing so, you leave room for the person who is. When someone isn't ready to give you what you need, the instinct is often to try harder. You tell yourself that maybe if you just communicate better, become more understanding, give them more space or more love, they'll finally realize what they have in you. So you lean in, you send the extra message, you wait by your phone, you overthink your words, you chase, not in an obvious way, but emotionally, energetically, hoping that your persistence will turn the tide. But the truth is this, when someone isn't ready, leaning in doesn't pull them closer, it pushes them further away. It sounds counterintuitive because we've been conditioned to believe that effort equals results. That if you want something, you fight for it. You don't give up. You stay consistent, loyal, present. And yes, in the right relationship, effort is beautiful. Effort is necessary. But when you're investing energy in someone who isn't emotionally available, your effort doesn't build intimacy. It creates imbalance. When you chase someone who isn't ready, you begin to perform. You start to show up in ways that aren't natural, not because you're manipulative, but because you're trying to earn love. You ignore the discomfort of your unmet needs. You silence the part of you that wants clarity, commitment, stability, because you don't want to scare them off. You over-manifest, hoping they'll meet you in the middle, but they rarely do. Not because they don't like you, but because they feel no need to change. You're doing all the work for both of you. You become the emotional engine while they coast. And the more you chase, the more they retreat. Maybe subtly, maybe dramatically. You start to feel like you're asking for too much, when all you're really doing is asking for the bare minimum. A message back, a plan for the future, a moment of clarity. And every time you don't get it, you push harder, not realizing that what you're really doing is negotiating your own worth. Pulling back is not about playing games. It's not about trying to get a reaction or provoke guilt. It's about stepping out of a dynamic that isn't serving you. It's about reclaiming your energy, your dignity, and your emotional peace. When you pull back, you create space. And that space does something very powerful. It reveals the truth. If someone truly wants you in their life, they'll feel that space and respond. Not with words, but with action. They'll show up differently because they'll realize that your presence is not something they can just expect. It's something they have to earn. But if they don't respond, if they let the silence grow, if they move on without hesitation, that's your clarity, as painful as it may be. Because the person who can let you go without a second thought is not the person who was ever going to hold you the way you deserve. And it's better to know that now than to spend months or years chasing a version of love that only lives in your imagination. Chasing keeps you stuck in a cycle. It feeds anxiety, not connection. You analyze their every move. You craft messages instead of expressing yourself. You live in a state of emotional scarcity where the tiniest gesture feels like a reward. You call it love, but really it's survival. And real love doesn't feel like that. Real love feels safe, clear, mutual. You don't have to beg for it. You don't have to shrink for it. You don't have to earn it by giving more than you're getting. Pulling back is hard, especially when your heart is involved, especially when you've convinced yourself that just a little more effort might tip the scale. But what if the scale isn't broken? What if it's just balanced in a way that reflects the truth of where this person really stands? You can't build a relationship on potential. You can't grow something meaningful when only one person is planting seeds. You need someone who's showing up, not someone you're constantly trying to pull into the light. When you stop chasing, you allow the